What is going on YouTube? It's your host, Bruce GNT, and we are here to talk about Kamala Harris not running for California governor in 2026. I made a video like a little while ago talking about what I thought she was going to do. I was kind of split in between thinking she was going to run for California governor and then run for president again in 2028. I'll have to say I was wrong. I was thinking that she was going to run for governor, but with recent events and then what's been going on with California specifically and how she just was quiet about it and said nothing, my opinion kind of changed. But we're not going to waste any time. We're going to jump into this and we're going to hear what she has to say.
We learned this afternoon that former Vice President Kamala Harris has a bombshell announcement. She will not run for California governor next year. Less than a year after she lost the 2024 election to Donald Trump, Harris's decision has already led to the inevitable speculation that this means that she will run again for president in 2028. In a statement explaining her decision, Harris says this, quote, "For now, my leadership and public service will not be in elected office. I look forward to getting back out and listening to the American people, helping elect Democrats across the nation who will fight fearlessly and sharing more details in the months ahead about my own plans." All right, our panel is here in the arena. CNN political director and our Washington bureau chief, David Chalian, CNN political commentator Jonah Goldberg, Democratic strategist, former senior advisor for the Harris campaign, Adrian Elrod, and CNN political commentator, Republican strategist, Brad Todd. Welcome to.
So before they jump into it, right, I realized that she wasn't going to run for governor of California when everything was going on in California and she was quiet. Like, no one heard from her, right? And that's one thing. If you want to put your name out there, put your face out there to run it like in an election, right? It doesn't matter that she was a former vice president. She wants to run to be governor of California. You got to get out there and speak. And she said nothing. The California fires, nothing. What was going on with, like, you know, Gavin Newsom when he was saying what he was saying on his podcast, Karen Bass when she was under scrutiny, and just nothing. The immigration stuff that was going on in California, nothing. Like, she's just been quiet as a church mouse. Nothing was said on her part pertaining to California. So once I started seeing that, I was like, that's interesting. Like, she's really not saying anything. I was like, you know what? No, she's not going to run, because she would have came out and put herself right there in the front to lead them, so to speak, and it really would have set her up for 2026. Maybe another reason why she didn't speak out in California and everything like that is because she plans to run in 2028. Yet again, I could be wrong. I don't think that would be the best thing for her to do, because this last election, even though there's a lot of people that are supporting her, they're not realizing and looking in between the lines and seeing, okay, she spent over the $1.5 billion that she was given. A lot of the donors did not want her to go up because a lot of them spoke about it, right? Morgan & Morgan in particular, that I can remember, they were not happy about how her campaign went. So the people can want her to go up as much as she can, but if she doesn't have funding, if she doesn't have people in her corner, in her back pocket to help her, come on now. I think she had around like 86 billionaires on her side, and yet she still lost. And then owed like 20 million after getting 1.5 billion. It was not looking good for her. So if she wants to run again, maybe, but I don't know what type of support she's going to get.
All of you, thank you very much for being here. David Chalian, I spoke to one person close to Harris who insists this is just a decision about 2026. It's not a decision about 2028, and yet.
Well, and yet, as you said, speculation. Listen, I think that is true. The for now in her statement is doing a lot of work to fueling the speculation about 28. But Casey, I mean, just a totally different assessment politically of looking at getting into a gubernatorial race where a lot of the polling had her as a dominant force if she were to get into the race. No sure thing to victory, obviously, in 26 versus what may be an extraordinarily crowded race in 28 that is far off yet, and that I don't think she will have any ability to sort of clear in any way for herself in 28. So I do take the advisor that you talked to and others I've spoken to at their word that this is not a decision about 28. Obviously, she's doing everything she can to preserve her options, and we're going to see a lot more of her in the next 18 months than we've seen in the last 6 months. There's no doubt about that. But I don't read this as automatically she thinks she's going to jump into the 28 presidential race.
Adrian Elrod, what do you think?
Look, I think her statement speaks for itself. This is a woman who has served Californians as San Francisco DA, as Attorney General, obviously as in the United States Senate, and as Vice President of the United States for the entire nation. I think she wants to take a step back, really focus on, how can she help the American people? How can she be a part of, pushing back against some of Trump's dangerous and divisive policies without having this transactional relationship with voters, which is exactly what she made clear in her statement, that she wants to be able to go out there and fight for people without having to go through the slog of running for office. She deserves to have a little bit of space here in this moment to, not always be running for office, not always be in elected office, but also making sure that she can be a viable force in the Democratic Party and a very important voice. And I'm also confident that if she had run for governor of California, she would have won that race. But she certainly, of course, has made it clear that she wants to keep her options open.
Yeah, I agree. She definitely would have won. At the end of the day, unless she completely changes her whole, I don't want to call it a shtick, but that's the best thing I can think of right now. Unless she changes that whole shtick, and she does the thing that I said she should have done from jump. She needs to kind of go dark a little bit and call out what was going on not just the Republican side, but the Democrat side as well. Would she do that? I don't think so. I don't think she got the stones for it, to be honest. And I don't think she's competent enough to do so, my personal opinion. If she was to do something like that, I think she would have a way better fighting chance. But just like what they say, it's gonna be crowded in 2028 because people are looking at, not just her, but Jasmine Crockett, which that will be dead in the water, and AOC. They're looking at so many different people. I even heard them talking about Bernie Sanders, but I don't even know. No, just stop. Oh shit, I forgot my boy Gavin Newsom. You know what I'm saying? Like, trust me. And up against people like that, people like AOC and Jasmine Crockett that are a little bit more on the radical side, and they're not afraid to say it. And then Gavin Newsom, where he's pretty much stagnant in who he's been and what he's been at for the longest time. She can't hold her weight, which is crazy because she's the former vice president, but she just wouldn't make it, honestly.
But in keeping her options open, there's no guarantee. In fact, there's really no way. You must have to acknowledge that she would start at the top of the heap in a 2028 primary.
Well, I think she's making it clear that she's not focused on 2028 right now. She's focused on 2026. Obviously, we've got some off-year elections in Virginia and New Jersey coming up that I'm sure she will weigh in on and be a part of a big surrogate in those races too. She's focused on making sure that Democrats can get a little bit of power back at the federal level, and I think that is where her focus will be, and we'll see what.
Not to cut her off, this woman lost, I think, every swing state. I don't know where she's gonna go to give support to other Democrats. Like, she's almost toxic. Like, she needs to stay away from them because it's not gonna help. Especially Virginia, she lost that state. Like, how is she gonna help? How?
Happens after the midterms.
Jonah Glover, are you surprised by this decision?
No. I think it makes a lot of sense on her terms. Democratic Party is more unpopular than it has been in something like 30 years, and I think it makes a lot of sense if she wants to run again for president, not to be in the public eye for a while, because we have not experienced a big surge of Biden-era nostalgia. There's still a lot of hard feelings out there, and frankly, if I were her, I would take a bunch of board seats and not think about running again. If not ever, then certainly not in 2028 either. But
board seats can complicate a political future.
for sure. But I would just sort of cash in and get out of politics if I were her.
This is a 2028 move. The California Democratic Party is a bowl full of Fruit Loops, and to be the leader of California as a Democrat, she will.
Did he say that shit on purpose? Fruit Loops. All right, my bad.
To become the Fruit Loop she really wants to be, as we saw in 2019. And so if she wants to run in 2028, she's got to get further from her Fruit Loop past, and she can't do that if she's.
I have a slight disagreement with that. I mean, I agree with you about California being a bowl of Fruit Loops, but who can deny that? But like as Rahm Emanuel, you need the way the Democrats are going to get back into power is by calling out Fruit Loops, is by doing some sort of sister soldier stuff. Much fewer opportunities to sort of say, I'm not the Democrat you think I am, and run against the brand if she doesn't hold another office.
Well, so the thing.
Exactly what I was saying. Until she strikes out and says, you know what, I'm calling out all these, it's not gonna work. Because we already saw what she has to offer, and she said it out her own mouth. I wouldn't have done anything much differently than Biden. People don't want that. People didn't want that. Like, she lost pretty badly. The only way for her to even stand a chance, which I don't want her to, but just being objective here, is to strike out and call out the shit that she's been seeing or has seen, and then boom. Also, too, I just remembered another reason why she hasn't been in the public eye, and we kind of forgot about it. A lot of news has come out about Biden and his mental faculties, and then, you know, who was really running the White House and everything like that. Yeah, she was smart to stay out of that. You know, she was smart, and the other guy was right. Yeah, she needs to stay out of the political light, maybe forever. Because now people are going to be asking the question, and I'm pretty sure she knew damn well that she was out in the spotlight. People be like, hey, look, when did you know? How did you know? How all the people coming out, and it's going to look real bad that she's the vice president, and she was always in the room, like how she claimed, and yet she saw nothing. So this is a good play on her part. I have to say that. But yeah, now that I think about it, that's another reason why she was not in the spotlight, because she already saw the heat that was coming down for that. She didn't want to be part of that. And like I said, she needs to distance herself as far away as possible, while also being a proper candidate that not just the left would want to like vote for, but maybe some people on the right and people in the middle will want to vote for her. And like I said, I don't think she's competent enough to do that. I could be off.
The thing is, and David Chalian, and the heart of the challenge that it seemed to me, Kamala Harris was this incredibly fast rising star, right? Out of California, she comes to the Senate. It's immediately clear that she's here to run for higher office, right? She's reaching out to reporters like us, right? It's very obvious. And then she struggles in public to identify what kind of Democrat she is, right? Is she going to run on the left the way that she did in the primary when she was a candidate herself, or is she
where she did not even make it to the voting, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. She drops out before that even happens, after, you know, what people thought was a strong kickoff rally. But then, and I want to play this moment that sort of crystallized, I think, for a lot of people, the struggle that she had. Obviously, she had a very compressed timeline to try to win the election. No one's taking that away from her. But she was asked why she would be different from the president that she had been serving when she did this appearance on The View. And here's how she answered that question. Watch.
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
So exactly what I just said. When are they going to cut the shit and just straight up say she is not a good candidate and she should stay away from politics? Like, when are they going to say that? Because literally everything that I just said, and even more so what they're adding to, like, cements her not being good for the job. All right. And it kind of pretty much illustrates why she lost twice.
I mean, is she at the point where she really knows who she is, Jonah Goldberg?
I don't think so. Look, like, part of the complaint about her is that she was trained up in a left-wing environment. She knew how to talk to the left, to rally progressive groups, but she had no, the term of art on the hard left is ability to do hippie punching. Right, of
I've not heard that term.
Google it.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
So
I'm glad I'm not alone.
Yeah.
picking fights with the crazy sort of left, she only knew how to sort of pander to it. And that is a real problem for a Democrat today who wants to sort of reclaim the center, is to say they're not owned by those groups. And if she doesn't run for governor of California, where are those opportunities going to be?
Look, I actually disagree. I think she knows exactly who she is. I think she has very strong convictions. I think she has a record that backs up those convictions, from fighting for criminal justice reform to fighting for women and families. She knows who she is. Candidates certainly evolve. I don't want to go back and rehash the 2020 primary versus the 2024 election, but candidate positions evolve. I think, however, to your point about kind of taking a step back and being a private citizen for a while and continuing to use her voice in a very effective way, I think that's a good thing for her to do right now. If that's what she wants to do, it's her own personal decision.
So, David, we have this just in. Gavin Newsom has tweeted, Kamala Harris has courageously served our state and country for her entire career, whether it be as a prosecutor, attorney general, senator, or vice president. She's always kept a simple pledge at the heart of every decision she's made for the people. That, of course, was her slogan. Grateful for her service and friendship, and looking forward to continuing the fight in whatever the future might hold for her.
They might be fighting each other. First of all, the Gavin Newsom-Kamala Harris relationship is amazing. They kind of grew up together in San Francisco public life. She was DA as he was going to be mayor, and they share the same political advisors in their lives.
Hence why they're both kind of dog shit. I don't think he sees that this is not a good thing to be saying out loud.
He has said in the past, he wouldn't run if she's going to run. Clearly, if you saw him in South Carolina a couple weeks ago, that's out the window here.
Absolutely not.
But I think that will be a fascinating relationship to watch if indeed she does choose to get in this race, as he seems poised to do.
As a Republican, I hope she runs. I hope everybody else defers to her and lets her run. Dick Nixon came back after being vice president and losing a presidential race in 1960. That's the model she should follow.
I am confident we're going to have a very robust primary in 2028, and that is exactly what our party needs.
Very robust.
Yeah.
Vote for.
My closing statements on this. Yeah, she should. You know, it'd be hilarious if she doesn't win, but she ends up trying to become someone else's vice president. I can't remember her first name. Adrienne or something like that. She said that she thinks she knows who she is and everything like that. And it's like, okay, that's cool, but the people don't. And you're trying to get the votes from the people that are trying to understand who you are. If they don't know who you are, it doesn't matter if you know who you are. That's why she lost. But like she said, not trying to rehash old shit. It's stupid. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, these next few years are going to be very interesting. You guys already know the drill. That's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like. Comment down below. Tell me your thoughts. Do you think she should have ran for 2026 for governor of California? I don't, but tell me how you feel about that. And do you think she has a fighting chance in 2028? Yet again, I don't, but tell me if you do. And subscribe if you want to see more. Peace.